Hey, we're live. It's Steve Swinburne, Mike Shoulders, Mike Artell, Jerry Pilata. We're sorry Sneed's not with us this week. I don't know where he is. I think he's out looking for birds, identifying birds, doing something cool. So here we are, and Authors Live. So I couldn't think of a good subject this week. So what do you guys think? What would be a good subject for this week? I thought insects might be. I thought insects might be a good subject. You know?
I want to read some. I want to read some from one of my books.
You think we should all read something? All right. Why don't we start off? Everybody will read a section from one of their books. Does that sound pretty good?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
All right. Here we go. Mike
Steve,
Shoulders,
you want to go first?
Mike Shoulders, you go first. What do you think?
I'll go first. I'm going to pretend.
Mike, can I just stop you 1 second? For every time that where we got the idea, that's so fascinating to me. I'd love to know where you got the idea, Mike and Jerry, your books too. Like, just what was the inspiration?
Well, this book was actually not my idea. It came to me through one of my editors. Sleeping Bear Press had 2 books about ship disasters. I believe their first book, it doesn't matter which one came first, but one is on the Edmund Fitzgerald, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah. That's a great story.
Who sang that song? Who was the guy that sang that?
Gordon Lightfoot.
Gordon Lightfoot, right.
Lake
How many points do I get?
5.
How many?
10.
All right.
You didn't phrase it from the question. Yeah, that's okay.
Then Sleeping Bear Press did a second book on a ship disaster called, it was about the Hunley. When was it, when did it sink?
1872.
Civil War.
Fort Sumter.
1862.
Charleston. First submarine that sank or attacked, I think it sank the ship that it attacked. Anyway, I didn't write the book. So my editor contacted me and said, do you know about the ship that sank on the Mississippi River at Tennessee? And they believe up to 1,800 perished. One ship.
Wow.
I thought she was cray. And so she said, Google it. And I did and found out that it was true. And it was soldiers going home from the war.
Wow. So,
And
Mike,
It was the Sultana, right?
Getting home?
Was it the Sultana?
It was the Sultana. The ship was called the
Yeah.
Sultana. Steve, what did you ask?
I asked the war was over and they were heading home?
They were, most of them were prisoners of war and
Wow.
they were going home.
Oh, man.
The war is over.
Yeah.
All of this ship, and it is severely overloaded. That's not why it exploded. But anyway, it exploded. And up to, depending on who you believe, record keeping was not real brilliant, was not accurate, but up to 1,800 soldiers died on their way home after the war.
Wow.
So I started doing research, Steve.
Mike,
I started doing
Mike.
research.
Mike Shoulders, before you go any further, the ship could hold 400, I believe. And how many were on the ship?
They believe up to 2,400.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
It held 376.
Hey, Mike,
see.
I'm sorry. Were these Confederates or are they Union?
Union going home from prisons, mostly in Andersonville and Cahaba near Selma, Alabama. The narrator of this book was imprisoned in Alabama, near Selma, at a place called Cahaba. By the way, little interesting fact: where he sat for 6 months, where he sat was the exact site of the capital, the first capital of Alabama. But the town flooded so much, they moved the capital to Tuscaloosa. Then they moved it to Montgomery.
Wow. Huh.
Cool.
And there's nothing there.
Mike, talking about the war was over and they were trying to return home. I don't know if most people know it, but the Battle of New Orleans was fought after the peace treaty was signed. It's just that the communication was so slow, it didn't get back here till after they signed the peace treaty. So,
So you guys thought you were still fighting.
yeah, well, you know, it's what we do down here. We're a pugnacious bunch.
Go ahead, Michael Shoulders.
Well, let me show you a picture because I did a lot of research. So anyway, Jerry, I found the name of a survivor that was a musician, and he was 15 when the ship exploded. He was 13 when Eli Lilly of Eli Lilly Pharmaceuticals hired him as his personal bugler and assistant.
Wow.
Wow.
They were from India. Eli Lilly. I see Eli Lilly's name on the TV every single day, and he's one of the characters in my book. So
Wow.
I went to the boys
Yeah,
in town.
You
Now,
interviewed him.
there's a line item. There's a line item for a resume, huh?
What? I
Personal
wrote.
bugler, personal bugler to Eli Lilly.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah, I'd use it. I know
You
my bugler does.
interviewed him? No.
So real quick, before I start, I'm going to read just maybe 2 or 3 pages, but I want to show you something so interesting. I think this may be boring. I think this is interesting because I like doing the research. But let me show you where the story begins on the first sentence. I go to Centerville, where the boy is from,
Yeah.
and right there is a livery. This picture was drawn in 1842. I find
So
a
that's not a
book.
photograph. That's not a photograph.
No, it's 42. Yeah, it's a drawing of the town. I found a book about the town that had all of the scenery in the town, all the buildings. And so this right here is the livery, and he is standing just inside that door.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a visual of what the scene looked like before it begins. And so I'm going to treat you like you're 5th graders. Clean off your desk. What?
Mike, excuse me, Teacher Shoulder, Mr. Shoulders.
You have to go to the bathroom?
No, I'm good.
Again?
What was the audience? Who was the audience? What grades?
Well, that's tricky. It's about American history, so it's good for 5th grade. It should be a fairly easy read for 4th grade, but it's also used a lot in 8th grade because they also do American history. But the text is the text is rather large. You can get through it quickly, and you'll hear the readability. By the way, let me say this. I'm reading this book with permission from Sleeping Bear Press. And they allowed me to put the first chapter, which is actually the prologue, online. Steve, pencil off your desk, please.
Teacher,
Pencil. Yes, sir.
teacher, can
Jerry.
I tell a joke before you start? Can I tell a joke?
Jerry, one joke.
Groucho Marx said he caught an elephant. He tried to pull the tusks out. They were in so hard. He moved to Alabama where the tusks are looser. That's a Groucho Marx joke.
I've never heard that.
Seriously, that's a Groucho Marx joke.
I know, it's true.
You'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip the waitresses.
That's right.
Boys and girls, no more questions. Only raise your hand if you're on fire. Crossing the Deadline, Stephen's Journey Through the Civil War by your teacher, Michael Shoulders.
Where did you get the name Stephen?
Prologue. April 17th, 1861. You have to hurry, Stephen. My brother Robert called as he swung around the fence post and into the corral. He was out of breath from running to Clem's livery, where I was mucking stalls. Dad's going, and you have to hurry soon. I'd been expecting that moment for days, dreading it. Dad had coughed up blood all the night before. The air in our room at the boarding house was filled with the stench of his soiled sheets. The doctors told us it wouldn't be long. I shouldn't have left the house when I did, but cleaning up after horses for my uncle was better than having to watch it happen. Robert turned and ran home, but I took time to scrub the pitchfork. I hung it back up to the next to the buckets on the wall. Scraping manure from my boots with a stick ate up a couple more minutes. I'd never seen anybody die. And Dad did not need to be my first. For months, consumption had slowly eaten his body like a flame chewing through a candle. Telegraphs from relatives in Pennsylvania and New York had arrived expressing regrets of his pending death, as if witnessing his last breath was as sacred as attending church. Sadly, we're unable to accept the solemn honor of accompanying James at his death, my aunt wrote. What honor? On the way home, Patty's Run, a creek just north of town, appeared to my right. It reminded me of the summer before, how we picnicked there every Sunday. Dad chased Mom with crawdads around the trees, bushes, and into the creek. He threatened to let them pinch her. She shrieked like a train whistle, all the while knowing he'd never allow any harm to come to a hair on her head. One time, Dad fell asleep under a tree. Mom offered a nickel to me or Robert, whoever came back first with a crawdad. Robert, 7 years older than me, he beat me and presented her with a long, large brown one. He pinned its tail to the ground while Mom squeezed its back between her fingers and thumb, lifting up the crawdad with a firm hold. She placed the pinchers above Dad's lips until it found his nose and it latched on tight like a tick. I never heard Dad yelp so loud or Mom laughed so long. I think that's enough there. The rest of the chapter ends. He makes it home. He makes it home. And he does witness his father passing in the prologue. Mike, you have a question? Or is that a picture of me? You were drawing a picture of me instead of...
I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
You think you're gonna grow up to be an artist or something?
Apparently not.
Hey, Michael Shoulders, I really like that a lot. So
That-
your main character is Stephen, and he goes on this this ship that eventually gets. Can we ask, or is it going to give away the book if he survives?
He does survive. I did pick a survivor of the Sultana. And he did survive it. And he ends up I actually went to his grave. He's in Texas.
Well,
And I went to his grave and I know this sounds trite. This is the most trite thing you'll hear in 2 months, but we had a little chat. And I said, Stephen, I hope I did you some justice here. By the way, I will say this, Steve, one thing I hope the book teaches people is that we need each other. And right as the book was coming out, I heard on TV someone say a phrase, and it's how I sign every one of these books. And this is how it goes. So I'll put to Steve Swinburne, if you want to go fast, travel alone. But if you want to go far, travel together.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a lot of writing in a
Where'd you
dedication.
hear that? Did you invent
I do that. I do that on every book that I sign to people. Now, if I have 30, 40 people in line, I can't.
Right.
But generally, it's going okay, and I can write that in there. And so Stephen only gets through the war by the help of other people.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful, Mike.
Mike, one of the things that I'm really glad you did, you put so much, the sense of smell at the beginning when you started reading. That's something that, I think about all the time, like in the past, the smell. How did people smell? You know, and also, can you imagine in those situations that you were just describing? I mean, the pilgrim ships, the prisoner of war ships, the below decks, the stench. It had to be horrific. And so I'm glad you touched on you incorporate a lot of the sense of smell in there.
Well, for those who are not published writers who might be listening, editors often say, you've got to open up with something powerful. You can't let the scene develop for 15, 20, 30 pages to get your reader. There are actually, editors sometimes will do first line critiques. In other words, grab them with the first line. Jerry, here, wait a minute.
And I actually made a note of that, Mike, that you hook the reader, and you hook the reader right in when on your first line. I think first lines, I love to read first lines in books.
I love the first line of this book right here. Each little bird that sings, a National Book Award finalist. And in the dedication, she mentioned someone gave her this line. Listen to this. This is a great first line for a book. And this is, of course, by Deborah Wiles. Jerry, we mentioned this a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Chapter 1. I come from a family with a lot of dead people.
Yeah, that's great.
You know that's going to be a good book.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, you just got a thumbs up from Susan Hutchins too, Mike, on the chat.
I love Susan.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Rachel Johnson.
That's
says
like
hi.
Jaws. Jaws starts with a fish sensed the change in the rhythm of the sea.
Yeah, that great.
And you know that a teenager is about to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, who wants to go next?
Well, if we're sticking on novels, Jerry, you okay if I read a page or two of this?
You guys are the boss. Let's go. Go
All
ahead.
right, Mike, your book was probably 4th, 5th grade and up. This book here called Whiff and Dirty George, the Zebra Incident. I'll tell you how I got the idea for this. I spent the first 8 years of my life in London, England, and my mom called me Whiff. That was my kind of nickname. I'm not sure where it came from, but it's Whiff. My best friend down the road was this kid named George, but because he was so dirty and smelly, talking about smells, my mom dubbed that kid Dirty George. So here's an idea for a book that I took directly from my childhood, and I totally fictionalized it. So the only things that are really basically true in this are the Whiff and Dirty George. Those were childhood names. And there's a grandmother in here named Nan, and that's true too. So you can draw from, you teachers and writers out there, you can draw from your life. And this is a quirky book that I wrote, and it came out in 2010. And look at my bookmark.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Mike Artell's bookmark. So all the chapters are in kind of like a little box, and I open up like this. Chapter 1, Where and When, Early Train to London, June 1969. Who? William, Whiff King, George, Dirty George Potts, and other passengers. Sound, clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. So in every chapter opening, I want to kind of set the stage. It's kind of like a theater, like screen directions. First line, me trousers are falling down, cried Dirty George. Mine too, said Whiff. What's going on? It's mad, said Whiff. Whiff checked his wristwatch, 7:25 a.m. exactly. The train to Paddington Station had just crawled to a stop when every zipper unzipped, every buckle unbuckled, every button unbuttoned. The railway car burst into bedlam. Handbags yawned wide. Briefcases sprung open, fountain pens zoomed by Whiff's nose. Passengers shoved and struggled to grab their trousers and skirts. Dirty George had never seen so many pairs of pink polka dot undies. Eyeglasses, cufflinks, hairpins, and brooches hurtled to the floor. Belts curled around ankles like snakes. A weird energy force had invaded the train, pulling everything downward. Dirty George tried to yank up his trousers. Here, use this. Whiff dug out some rope from his rucksack and tossed it to Dirty George. Rucksack is a backpack. Then he wrenched the rope that held up his own trousers. What's that whirring noise? It's coming from over there, said Whiff, pointing to a luggage rack 5 rows ahead. At that moment, as soon as you hear phrases like that, suddenly or at that moment, the action is going to change. At that moment, the door to car number 3 swung open and in stepped a large rabbit. The rabbit straddled a seat and blew a silver whistle dangling from its neck. The passengers looked up. Say cheese. A white flash filled car number 3 as the man in the rabbit suit snapped a photo. Then he reached above the luggage rack, grabbed a small silver disc, and dashed through the train's open door. The speakers filled the railroad car with the sound of a maniacal laugh. Crikey, who was that? Cried Dirty George. I don't know, but come on, said Whiff. Let's chase that rabbit. Whiff, do we have to? Come on, mate. Let's see where he's up to. Whiff squeezed through the car door, crowded car to the exit. If there was one thing Whiff and Dirty George could do, it was run. They excelled at running. If they took a class in running, they'd get A's. When school bullies threatened to pummel you because you had no parents, Whiff, or wallop you because you were poor and smelled of socks and old fish, Dirty George, you found your legs. The boys ducked through a passenger car door. They spotted the rabbit escaping along a deserted part of the platform. Whiff dug out a length of rope. The boys tugged their straps on their rucksack and took off like sprinters. Whiff tied a slip knot on the run. He'd practiced tying knots while running 100 times before. Ever since his hands could grasp, Whiff had messed about with the rope. Whiff grew up believing that when your parents are tragically killed while watching a lasso demonstration at a Texas rodeo, you never, ever want to find yourself trapped by a rope. He'd practiced tying and untying knots every day, every spare moment. He was the best. The boys caught up with the rabbit at the end of the platform. Whiff flung the noose. The knot snagged the rabbit's arm, and the boys planted their feet and tugged. The rabbit jerked to a halt. He spun to face his pursuers, and gripping the rope with one hand, pulled both boys toward him. Crikey, Whiff, it's Super Rabbit. Now what? It wasn't the first time Whiff had landed in a sticky situation. Nan, Whiff's grandmother, pleaded with him to think before he leaped, but Whiff kept leaping, and his run-ins with neighborhood ruffians and school thugs earned him black eyes and a thin white scar above his upper lip. For an instant, Whiff thought how easy it would be to release the rope and run, but he'd saved his pennies to buy this good strand of double-braided nylon rope, and he wasn't about to lose it. Whiff and Dirty George leaned back on the heels and tugged with everything they had, but the rabbit dragged him closer. When they'd reached arm's length, the rabbit flashed a smile of dagger white-like teeth. Look like the rabbits outsmarted the foxes, eh, lads? Mister, we only wanted to have a look at that silver disc, said Whiff. Shut up, you cheeky tykes, said the rabbit. You're lucky I'm in a good humor, because if I ever see the likes of you two again. The man whipped off his rabbit mask. Whiff and Dirty George stared into a pair of menacing eyes. Gray-black whiskers and an untamable mass of greasy black hair framed the man's twisted smile. The boys recoiled at the villain's teeth and vile breath. I'll have your throats, said the rabbit with a wicked grin. He held Whiff's rope up to his mouth. He sliced it cleanly in one bite, sprang from the platform, scuttled across the tracks, and vanished down a dark tunnel like a rat racing to its hole.
Yay. Well done.
Whiff and Dirty George.
By Stephen Swinburne.
Mike is muted.
Hey, Steve, let me ask you a question. You lived there a long time ago. The phrases that you used, did you have to go back and look those things up, or are those from memory, Steve?
Those are from memories. Those are part of my DNA. My mom and dad and brother, sister, we were all from England. So it's phrases we use. And when I've returned to England, I kind of pick up that English accent again. So cheeky, rucksack. And these are words, by the way, I have a glossary in the back of the book. So
A cuppa?
Cup of tea. Yeah, there you go. Cup of tea. And you have a glossary in the back of the book. So good catch, Mike. This is for an American audience, so I don't want them to stumble over the definition. I don't want that.
But you want it to be authentic.
What's that?
You want it to be authentic.
Exactly. I want to be authentic and real and honest and true, but I don't want to have them stumble over the action. You know.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well done.
Excellent. Okay, Mikey Artell, you're up next.
Okay, I'm going to read a little bit from Mason Madrid is a very funny kid.
Love that book.
Okay, thanks, Mike. This book is about a little guy who's a class clown. It's semi-autobiographical. And I believe too very strongly that books have to start with good, strong first lines, first paragraphs. So I'll just show you. Here's the first page. You have to see them.
Ha.
The title is It's What I Do, Chapter 1. Excuse me, Miss Evans. May I please be excused? My head fell off.
That's a great line.
I'm sitting in my desk and I've pulled the neck of my sweater over the top of my head. I look perfectly normal, except my head seems to be missing. Miss Evans sighs deeply and looks up from the papers she's grading. I can see her face between the little holes in my stretched out sweater. She stares for a second and then makes a little snort. She's trying not to laugh, but she can't help herself. The rest of the class starts laughing like crazy. Hey, look at Mason. Dude doesn't have a head. I'm Mason Madrid. Making people laugh is what I do. And nobody in my school does it better. Some of the kids in my class think my jokes and tricks are hilarious. Other kids think what I do is dumb. But they'll all tell you that I'm the comedy king of Miss Evans' class. Well, Miss Evans, unfortunately, gets very sick. Because I think we all run into that at schools when we visit schools. Sometimes I'll say, well, the teacher's out, she's quite ill. And so I said, well, let's address that a little bit. So Miss Evans gets very sick and they have a substitute. And they're not telling the kids much information, only that Miss Evans is going to be out and the substitute's going to be taking her place. Well, unfortunately for the substitute, his real name is Mr. Bugar. And kids, that's low-hanging fruit, right? Especially for Mason.
That's too easy.
Just too easy. So anyway, they're in class and they're doing the introductions and all. So Mason decides that here's his chance. So he says, attention, Mason's brain cells. The principal is gone. The sun is in the room. The sub is in the room. It's time for the comedy king to spring into action. Roger that, Captain Mason. Game on. I raise my hand. Yes, Mr. Bugar smiles. Mr. Bugar, where's Miss Evans? Well, she's out on sick leave for a while. What's wrong with her? That's private. You'll have to ask Mr. Scorlich if you want more information. Is she coming back? She plans to. Did you tell her that we never have, did she tell you that we never have quizzes on Mondays? No, she didn't. Are we having a quiz today? Yes, we are. Is it a hard quiz? No, it's not. It's snot? What? You said the quiz was snot. My classmates begin to look at me. They know that the comedy king is about to work his comedy magic. You asked me if the quiz was hard, and I said, it's not, Mr. Bugar explains. It's snot? I ask again, pretending to be confused. Some of the kids are giggling now. Then Mr. Bugar stops smiling and starts walking toward me. Uh-oh, I think I might have pushed this snot thing a little too far. Mental note, can you actually push snot? I'll have to Google that later. What's your name? Mason. Well, Mason, I'm going to be here every day for a while, so we might as well get something straight. When I was about your age, I was the funniest kid who had ever been born until that time. If they had given out Olympic medals for funniness, I would have won the gold. If they put my ability to make people laugh in a box, my skills would have come in the box the size of an office building. And if they gave out money for the kid who could think of the wildest, craziest, funniest, world-class jokes and tricks, I would have been a multi-bazillionaire. In other words, Mason, I used to be a lot like you. Then he bends over until we are face to face. So I'm going to be watching you very closely, he says slowly. And the chances are that before you can do or say anything that will disrupt my class, I'll see it coming and I'll squash it like a bug.
Yeah.
And then he smiles this creepy mad scientist smile at me. After a couple of seconds, he stands up again and walks back to the front of the classroom. I'm frozen in my chair. This guy isn't your normal sub, and he sure doesn't seem like he would have been a funny kid to me. I think he was just trying to scare me. That's what he was trying to do. Mission accomplished. That's
Whoa.
chapter 1. So anyway, thank you. Jerry,
All right.
I love that book.
thanks.
I think I contacted you after I read it, said that was
You did.
time well spent.
You did. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the kind review. Thank you.
All right. So I'm up next.
You the man.
Well, I'll tell a couple stories. Because someone said, you love to hear stories about how you thought of books. Well, I've already said this before, but my son loved skulls when he was 10 years old, 8 years old. So I thought I would do a skull book.
Which
I
son?
thought,
Neil?
Eric. And Eric loved skulls when he was a little kid. And I thought, he can't be the only kid in America that loves skulls, right? There must be other kids that love skulls. So I thought, I was trying to think of books that were different because there was a lot of alphabet books being written at the time. And I thought, I got to think of something really different. So I thought of writing a book of skulls. But then I thought I didn't want it to be just a normal alphabet book. It starts like this. I had an extra page in the front. So I started like this. Warning. This book contains the alphabet. If you are afraid of the alphabet, do not read any further. But the whole idea was to look at the book. You don't want to think that it's like a devil worship book or something like that. It's really a science book of skulls.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like there's nothing
Jerry,
sinister about it. It's a science
Jerry,
book of skulls.
that's a great start to that book.
So we're trying to encourage kids to be doctors or, scientists or something,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So the book goes like this. I'll just read. I'm just going to read a couple pages, and I'm going to switch to another book. But there's this page right here, and you can see the skull, and you can imagine what it is, okay? I'll just give you a clue. Right here, Ralph painted an ant. There's an ant right there. And then there's another ant right there.
Oh,
So, all right. He left clues. So the book
That's
goes like
great.
this. You ready?
so
I
you
wanted the
don't
book to be
learn, Jerry,
different.
you don't learn the skull until a little bit later.
I never tell them what the skull is.
Oh, cool.
You'll see how I wrote the book. So I thought in my head, I got to make the book really different. I got to make it really different. So I call this a deductive reasoning book. You have to figure out what the skulls are from the text and the illustrations and other clues that are left, either by the illustrator or me. But the book goes like this. This is a science book about mammal skulls. A skull is the head of a skeleton. Leg bones, arm bones, rib bones, and back bones are not in this book. That's how the book starts. A is for, we are not telling you. As you read this book, you'll have to use your skull. Actually, what's in your skull? Your brain. Can you guess what animal this is? Think. Its skull is perfectly shaped for eating small six-legged creatures. So there you go.
Yeah,
That's
it's
A.
a nice twist.
Right?
That's a nice twist.
Yeah.
By the way, earlier when you guys were saying you need a really good start to your books, a good opening sentence,
Yeah.
all I could think of is me saying to you guys, oh yeah, I need a good opening salvo. A. It's an
A.
alphabet book. The first
Who
That's
would see that coming?
openings. The
A.
opening salvo
Got
is
fired across
Hey.
the bow. Hey.
some kid at a school. Some kid at a school once asked me, how do you end your books? And I go, Z.
See.
You know?
What
P
else?
is for, here you go. Here's the next page. For all of you out there, you can try to guess what it is. Here's the next page. Oops, sorry. Yeah, that's better right there. People have been telling me to go back, that I'm too close in this Zoom thing.
Now
You
we're
know?
back to in-laws again.
Yeah. B is for B is for we are still not telling you. Did you think we were kidding? Every skull tells a story. Be a detective. Look for clues in the different parts of the skull. And then it lists them: zygomatic arch, cranium, eye sockets, nasal passage, upper jaw, teeth, lower jaw. You know how you're always thinking of book ideas? Well, I thought of writing a book of human body parts, you know, and I always wondered, where would I ever find a Z? Where would I ever find a Z? And sure enough, I found a Z in the skull right here. Feel right here, you guys. That's your zygomatic arch. Your jaw
wow.
muscle goes, your jaw muscle goes under the arch and it makes your jaw move. The muscle goes under this arch right here.
Oh, wow.
So there's a Z for you. So when I was thinking of writing a book of body parts, which I didn't do, Z is for zygomatic arch. Okay, there was another page I was going to read. I have to think of what it was. So hold on there, guys. Oh, yeah. So I like to put information in the books. I like to put jokes in the books. So here's some pretty cool information, because I didn't know this before I started writing books. R is for, here is a skull with two horns. By the way, there it is. There it is right there. Okay, does that look pretty good?
Back
Yeah.
up.
Back up.
Yeah.
There.
Okay,
How's that?
yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Perfect.
R is for, here is a skull with two horns. What is the difference between a horn and an antler? Horns stay attached to the skull, while antlers are shed every year.
I didn't know
I
that.
never knew that. So
Yeah.
I thought it was a great lesson for kids. Like a
Yeah.
cow has a horn, but a deer has an antler.
Right. They'll fall. You can see them in the woods. Find them in the woods.
A
Wow.
white-tailed deer on the front cover of this book has antlers. So there you go. There's some antlers right there on the front cover of the book. A white-tailed deer on the front
Wow.
cover. I thought there was one more page. Oh yeah, I like to put jokes in the book. And oh, it's not that book. I like to put jokes in the book. Now here's another book I wrote, a Beatle alphabet book. And how did I think of this book? I
You
was
love the
trying to think
Beatles.
of subjects. Yeah, I love to think of subjects, and I thought Beatles. When I think of my childhood, I think Beatles, Beach Boys, Supremes, Lovin' Spoonful, Rolling Stones, the Turtles. I think like that.
The
When I was
animals.
thinking of my childhood and the animals. Yes.
Sonny and
So
Cher.
I thought.
Not so much,
I
Michael.
I thought I would write a book of Beatles and sort of make a joke about it. So, anyways,
Nice.
I'll show you what I would call a page full of information. So sometimes we try to fill the book with information. So here's one full of information. Here's the tiger beetle. See the tiger beetle? By the way, you can tell a beetle by the straight line down the back. See the straight
Ah.
line? That's a beetle. It
Ah,
has an X on its back. It's a true bug. All right. So here we go. T is for tiger beetle. This beetle has huge jaws. Beetles are biters. Other insects have different types of mouths. Butterflies are sippers. Houseflies are spongers. Grasshoppers are chewers. Bees are lickers. And mosquitoes are bloodsuckers. So there's a page where I wanted to teach something really interesting to kids, you know? But I didn't want the whole book to be like that, because I think you would lose the kids.
yeah.
So every now and then, like here's another page full of information. Here's a beetle called the seed beetle. And if you look at the seed beetle, it has really cool antennae.
Yeah.
And by the way, another characteristic of beetles that I loved teaching kids that I never knew is that beetles have 11 sections in their antenna. So if you look at this antenna right here and you
Ah.
count the sections, they have 11 sections in their antennae.
Is that
Wow.
true for every beetle?
Pretty much, yes, it's true.
Cool. Cool.
So
That sounds like something you would make up.
nope, I
11.
didn't make it up.
11.
So I went back through the book and I checked David's illustrations, and he did 11 sections.
Wow.
Each one.
Wow.
I didn't have to ask him for any money back, you know, like you're missing a section of page L. But see this right here? Even this one, the seed beetle,
Yeah.
if you count, there it is right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Wow.
11 sections in the antennae, right? So here's what I wrote on this page. S is for seed beetle. This seed beetle has comb-shaped antennae. Look through this book for examples of antennae diversity. You will find a thread type, a feather type, a ball at the end type, a saw type, and a bead type. There's also like a hockey stick type, but I didn't, for some reason, I didn't put it on the list there. Yeah, like look at this guy. He has like a hockey stick type of antennae.
Oh,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. So I try to put jokes in the book. So here's a joke I put in it. We'll see if you guys get it. Ready? Here it is right here. I put a spider in just to teach one lesson. Spiders have 8 legs, beetles have 6. I didn't really want to teach much more than that. Plus, spiders do not have wings. Beetles have wings. That's all. I wasn't getting greedy and trying to put tons and tons of stuff in the book. I
Yeah.
just wanted to teach those 2 things. So then on this one, you ready? Are you looking at me? I said,
You're
are you
looking at me?
me?
You're looking at me?
I'm a spider, not a beetle. I'm not even an insect. Spiders have 8 legs, not 6. Spiders do not have wings. So I call that my Robert De Niro spider. So
Yeah,
there you go, right there. You like him?
that's good.
And
I see the resemblance. I see the resemblance. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that was all I was going to say.
Hey, Jerry,
Uh-oh.
didn't you hide or didn't the illustrator hide some Beatles songs on that book?
Yeah, there's Beatles songs hidden in the book.
I love that.
Beatles song titles. Now, see the cockroach? He's not a beetle. Look at his back. He doesn't have a straight line. And he has a string for antenna. He doesn't have a 11 section antenna. See that?
Huh.
So a cockroach is not a beetle. Oh, and this is for you, Mike and Steve, you musicians in the group. How do you like this beetle? I just love this guy.
Oh,
Right?
gosh.
So
Look
I
at that.
thought I would, I mean, take a look at it. What does it look like?
A
So I
violin.
thought- I know. So here's what I wrote. V is for violin beetle. Here is another crazy shaped beetle. It looks like a violin. Let's see. If we had a violin beetle, a cello beetle, and 2 violin beetles, if we had, I'm sorry, if we had a viola beetle, a cello beetle, and 2 violin beetles, we would have a beetle string quartet. A violin beetle can also be called a guitar beetle. So there you go. Maybe I should have called it, maybe I could have called it a ukulele beetle and put it
Yeah,
in
that's
there.
good. That's
And,
good.
By the
and
way-
if you had that quartet, they could have played on Eleanor Rigby.
Yeah.
That's right.
See
Hey,
right
do you
here?
know- all right,
It
a little bit of
says
trivia. Do you
It
know why
says,
they?
while my guitar gently weeps, right there.
Oh,
Nice.
that's
While my
beautiful.
guitar. But
Do
I'll
you-
show you a really easy to see Beatles song. And then,
You know how they got the name Beatles?
yes,
Silver
from the
Beatles.
Crickets.
Yes,
No,
it was a play.
it's
Buddy
from,
Holly's band was
Buddy
Buddy.
Holly and the Crickets.
Yep,
So they made a pun out of beat, having a
Yep.
great beat.
yep.
So look right there on the shiny part, and it says, "Oh, darling." See it?
Oh,
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Wait a minute,
I'll
Jerry,
show you
hold it
one
there. And the rest of us, I don't know if the camera's on you. It went off. Talk.
I
Do
saw
again.
I saw it. Oh, darling.
Please believe me.
Hey, Jerry.
Very nice,
I'll
Jerry.
never leave
Jerry.
you alone. Hey, look at
Jerry.
this one. Ready? Here's one right here. If you look closely, it's right there. It says, I gotta look.
I will.
I will.
Yeah, it says I will. See, I will.
Wow.
Who knows how long I've loved you?
Hey, Jerry.
So there you go.
Did you
There's
suggest
some
that?
goofy stuff. There's
Did you
some goofy
suggest
stuff
that, Jerry?
about my books. What's that?
Did you suggest that, or did Ralph just do that?
Dave Badricki did that.
Dave. Yeah.
We did it together, but
Yeah.
it all started with me and Ralph. You know,
That is a great idea, man.
we did
Jerry,
Elvis
how
book.
deep of a dive did you do on that? Are the song titles, do any of them relate some way to that Beatle in particular, or he just did different ones in different paintings, or is there a deeper
You know
dive
what?
on that?
He did every now and then. He did something goofy, but as a rule, no.
Okay,
He like
That-
he
that would have
put
been super
Norwegian
hard to
wood.
do.
I'll show you what he did. Like, see this page? It's a beetle that kills pine trees.
Yeah,
He put Norwegian wood on that page.
yeah.
He did
That
goofy
works.
stuff like that, but he didn't do a lot of it.
Well, that would have been way, way hard to pair songs up with types of Beatles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a Yoko Ono bug?
No, but you guys have to guess, why are there 4 Beatles on the title page?
John,
There
Paul,
were
George,
4
and Ringo.
Beatles.
If you look closely, you could see their names on the Beatles, but I don't think I can do it right here.
No
Yeah,
way.
you can see one right there. You can see it right there.
Hold it up tight and close.
Um,
No,
Beetle won't stay still.
it's there somewhere.
Stop.
Anyways, it's there.
Wow.
Hey.
You know, Jerry, I'm a little bit disappointed because there was a 5th Beatle.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, they kicked him out before the book was published.
yeah,
Well, there was really 6. There was Pete Best, the drummer that they got rid of.
Yeah,
He played on at least a couple songs.
right.
And then
George
we-
Martin.
There was Stu Sutcliffe, who died unexpectedly,
right.
you know?
I don't know about
So-
him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, guys, we've almost gone a whole hour.
wow.
So what
Hey,
do you
can I
think
do
we
a
should
quick
do?
one? Jerry, can I do a
Yeah,
real
go
quick,
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
quick one?
Yeah.
Real quick. A long time ago, I came up with a limerick, and I used to write limericks for Highlights for Children. And anyway, this limerick, my daughter said, just make a little book out of it. It's so much fun. So here's the book. AB saw AB. Okay.
Yes.
So here's how it goes, real quickly. Okay, here's the cast of characters. Right there, a B, a B.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. AB, he said, that's me, I'm a B. Saw a B.
Ah,
Yep.
Wow, that's a big B, he says. Wow, that's a big B. In the sea,
oh,
Okay.
cool.
big wet B. And the fish says, this is the sea. See down here, the fish says, this is the sea. So a bee
Nice.
saw a bee in the sea, and she said
And
to her
she said
friend,
to her friend,
who's also a bee,
Her name is Dee.
look at me.
Oh,
Okay,
Nice try, Mike.
okay?
we were on D.
She's Aunt Bee. And this just may be the last time you'll see
A B?
a bee, CAB, CAB. So the limerick is, a bee saw a bee in the sea, and she said to her friend, look at me. And this just may be the last time you'll see a bee see a bee see a bee.
wow.
That's the limerick. And then I'll show you how to draw a bee.
There was an old lady from
Hey, Mike.
Nantucket.
Hey, Mike,
Yes.
in the mid, I had extra pages. So look, HIB.
Ah, there you go. Good.
I wanted to
Very
teach,
nice.
I
Well
wanted to
done.
teach that bees have their wings out and beetles fold their wings in. So
Oh.
it goes A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, B.
HIB.
Goes like that.
Nice. Okay.
Very good.
Well,
So I was trying to think, since we have a couple minutes, maybe you guys could think of one funny story of something that happened at a
Yeah,
school.
I don't know if I've told you this one. Did I tell you this one where I was in Pennsylvania, as you guys have all been there and done big assemblies? Did a big assembly for 3rd graders, 300 kids. They're all filing out. The end of the day, I was super excited about getting in my car, going home. I've been on the road for about a week. This kid comes up to me, yanks on my shirt as I'm packing up the stage. He goes, Mr. Swinburne, I really love your presentation. I said, oh, thanks so much. He said, but next time, maybe you want to pull up your flyer.
oh no. Oh no.
And I looked down there, and indeed, the
Wow.
barn door was open.
Barn door was open.
Wow.
Oh my.
Very
I said,
good.
thanks, kid. You could have told me before I
Yeah.
started.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well,
You got-
one of my favorite stories is they forgot to give me lunch. They scheduled me and they totally forgot lunch. So it's like 2:00 and I was kind of hungry.
Yeah.
So they bring me to the lunch ladies and the lunch ladies go, everything's closed. We don't have anything,
oh,
nothing to eat.
no.
I go, you don't have anything I could eat? Can I get like an ice cream sandwich or something? No, we don't have anything except a dirty diaper sandwich. And I go, what? She goes, yeah, we have a dirty diaper sandwich. I go, what? So they whip out this jar. It looks like peanut butter, but it was sunflower butter.
Okay.
Sunflower butter.
I've had that.
Which
It's
they
pretty
now
good.
call it Wonder Butter instead of peanut butter. Kids can't have
Yeah.
peanut butter because they're allergic, so they give them what they call Wonder Butter, which is really sunflower seed butter.
Huh.
So she gets a piece of bread and she puts it on there like that, and she goes, "Look at it. It's like a dirty diaper." And she hands it to me, and that's what I had for lunch.
That is
at a
great. A
school.
dirty diaper. That is
Yeah.
A dirty diaper
that's
sandwich.
great.
So there you go.
That's
Mike, you must have a good story. All the schools you've been at and all the years of teaching, you must have a good story.
Michael.
He's not talking?
He's muted.
Yeah?
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
he's muted?
The Amazon guy came to the door and I was afraid the dog was going to bark. So
Okay.
anyway, two things. Number one time out of school, child center front row. I have never seen so much substance come out of a child's mouth in my life.
Oh, no.
I have never seen, I've taught, I've been in schools for almost 50 years. I have never seen that much of projectile. And so we didn't have time to clean it up. It was just too much. And we got one of those flat desks and laid it down between the kids
Oh.
and it. But
Oh.
anyway, so I'll name this school that I'm going to talk about next, DeKalb West here in Tennessee, in Smithville, Tennessee. The kids dressed up as their favorite author. And so this kid came dressed as Michael Shoulders. And, I'm sorry, I did the wrong thing. So that was an honor for a kid to have chosen me with the glasses.
Looks just
and-
like you.
Yeah.
My wife, when I showed that to my wife, she could hardly stop laughing. So there I am, a kid dressed up as me. So
Perfect.
That's great.
Mike,
I went to a school and a girl dressed up as me, and she had one of those bald things that you put over your head so you're bald. She
Yeah.
got up and gave a little talk.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. And classroom quotes.
This is a book I kept telling teachers to put it into a book and they never would. So I just collected a whole bunch of them from teachers and put it into a book myself. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's a great giveaway book, when you do teacher presentations. But I'll just read one of them for you. I think we mostly have grown-ups here. It's nothing bad, but I'll just say this. This teacher sent me this one in. She said, I got a pet update from one of my students. And he said, my dogs, Petey and Andy? And the teacher said, yeah. He said, well, Andy has a girlfriend, but Petey doesn't. Because they took away his baby making stuff, and now he doesn't even want to get married. So there's the story of Petey and
What a
Andy.
great quote. What a
Yeah.
great quote.
Anyway, so that's all I got.
Well,
Steve,
Guys,
it's
lot of
almost 2:00, and I have to thank, when I put a skunk in one of my books, I have to thank the kid who said to me, I think it was a second grader, Mr. Pilata, you have introduced chemical warfare into your series. So I have to thank the kid who said that. That was really funny.
Nice.
He was great.
Steve,
Hey,
you gonna
that's
take
it
us
for the
out?
day. It's 2:00. We
Take
have
us
to
out,
stop.
thanks, guys.
Steve, take
And,
us out.
All right,
Steve,
here we go, guys. Ready?
Oh, you know what though? I never saw any of the comments. For some reason, my computer wouldn't do the comments. So does anyone want to talk about the comments before we go?
There were very few, Jerry.
I
I
can't,
think we've
I can't
covered
open
them.
them.
Mostly
You covered
Susan.
them? Thank you, everybody. Okay, here's our song. Go.
Bye-bye, kids. I hope you had a good time. Bye-bye, kids. Don't forget to read. Bye-bye, kids. I hope you had a good time. Don't forget to read. Thanks Thanks for inviting us to your screens. We had the best time. You guys are cool. I hope you really like our books. Read a book, you can't go wrong. I said bye-bye, kids. I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye, kids. Don't forget to read. Bye-bye, kids. I hope you had a good day. Don't forget to read. Woo!
See ya.
Bye, everyone. See you, Mike.
Thanks, guys.